Hey, buddy. Salutations from space, friends. This is Gemini Brett, astronaut and celestial navigator of More Than Astrology, with a look at the coming month of astrology as Venus descends from the crown chakra to the third eye chakra on the way down. She is moving through the second gate, or some would say this is the sixth gate, as it correlates to that chakra. Salutations from space, I say, and you might hear this plane moving ahead, but really I should say salutations from Earth, from the forests of Oregon on our planet, certainly the most important planet to us as we honor these astrological mysteries. I'm on my way to Portland from Bend, Oregon. I'm going to record a podcast episode with a wonderful musician, Dave Hoover, at Wonderland. So I'm very excited to get back on my way, but I had to take a stop to ground, and also had received an email from Lukashi Sounds asking me for some guidance to their musical creations for our sixth chakra music. And they asked, what's the planetary happenings this month? So I figured it would be a good time to look through the ephemeris and see what the planets are doing, specifically honoring Venus in her path and her many alignments that she will make. And I was starting to flip through the book and write down some notes on the side of the highway. These trucks were whizzing by and looking at Venus, who ingresses into the sign of Virgo, her first ingress since she began this quest in Leo on August 15th, and thought, you know, the side of the highway is not cutting it. I need to get into the woods. This is Virgo Venus. This is the priestess. This is the ceremonialist. Yeah, and here in the woods is where we Virgo. Most of the members of the Sovereign Scepter group live in these magical northwest forests where, well, we just come alive. I drew a power animal card for this session, and I received wolf. And the message from Stephen Farmer in this card deck is that we are always safe. We are always protected. Some of that protection, some of that beauty comes from these woods or nature. Now, I don't think it's a stretch by any means to state with clarity that everyone in this group has a deep and profound connection to nature, our greatest teacher. So, Lukashi Sounds, that is number one. And number two, as we remove the crown and the attachments and now descend through the third eye, we're looking into cleaning the clutter of our perceptions. And there is something so sacred about grounding into nature and observing the beauty of these woods, tying our system to the system of Earth. That is the greatest teacher of our perceptions and the so-called real world out there in the cities. You know, for me, deer, who lives at the edge of the forest, is the one that calls us home and reminds us to take a breath when things get difficult in our lives. Can we step outside? So may this month be a month of that, and may Lukashi Sounds bring us some sounds of nature for this part of our journey. If you haven't listened to the crown chakra music that Lukashi created for this project, I cannot highly recommend that enough. It is amazing music. It's up on the SoundCloud page, And I've been sitting it down in meditation and putting that music on and just asking, what is the crown and what do I need to clean from it? And that music has really helped guide that process. I've been cooking to that music and dancing to that music and sleeping to that music. So have a listen again. And please give a heart on SoundCloud when you do, or maybe even leave a comment. Not only will that honor the co-creators of this project and bring them back to create more, but as the way this strange world of technology works, that will make that recording pop up for more people in their stream. And so more people will listen to it and hopefully join us in our quest, because there is something so beautiful to be in this quest together. And that being said, I thank you all for joining. Any like you can give in the many platforms or comments are very much appreciated. So please take a moment just to click that button. Alright, so out in the woods, you might have heard the chipmunk who helped us start. You might also hear some cars. I'm not too far from my own. My saxophone is resting safely there, and I want to make sure that she does so. And again, it's only appropriate to speak about Venus this month as she ingresses and travels through the sign of Virgo here from the woods and not at the tea table. Now, I might later bring some of the charts and such into this video so we can see visually what I'm speaking of. And though we're in the forest, we can certainly drink some tea. So I've brought a vessel with Hanuman's image out here with us, and we'll have a cup of pu'er. Now, Hanuman is also a beautiful resonance for Virgo, because Virgo has such a beautiful devotion to devotion itself, the practice, the yoga. What is it that you are devoted to? What is your yoga? Mine is speaking with the planets. And this is a month that the guidance will bring us into where we're really asked to ground ourselves into our practice. Maybe that's a tea meditation. Maybe that's speaking to planets. Maybe that's hatha yoga. Maybe that's singing, toning, whatever it is for you. But speaking of toning, I highly recommend you do. Push play on the Lukashi sounds and sing along. And see what comes through. Okay, just before this Venus gate, which is signaled to us by the crescent moon conjuncting Venus in the morning sky, embracing the great goddess there, Venus ingresses into the sign of Virgo. So it's her first sign since she began the quest in Leo. And the moon gate will be on October 8th. At the first degree of Virgo. Now this is the same degree where Venus stationed retrograde on July 25th. Alright, so she's returned to that zone of the zodiac where she decided to turn around and travel backwards for some times as she was passing Earth in our mutual orbits. This first degree of Virgo at this time, at this eon in which we live, holds the bright, beautiful, magical star Regulus, the heart of the lion. So, in the shamanic astrology practice, we honor the signs, and this is Virgo, but we also honor the constellations, the heart of the lion, which I call the lion and not Leo because the constellations and the tropical signs are no longer aligned. So the heart of the lion, Regulus, is now at the first degree of Virgo. This is where Venus stationed retrograde on July 25th. And this is where the second gate of the quest, where we remove the crown and spend about a month investigating the nature of the third eye and what needs to be cleansed and purified there as we descend for our reassemblage, begins. Mercury, traditionally is the planet that rules Virgo. And Mercury is currently retrograde as I record this. And though I'm not one of those scapegoat, the great Mercury superstitious astrologers, I must say that I personally have had a pretty significant retrograde cycle thus far. Many of the stereotypical Mercury retrograde superstitions have come true for me. I lost my travel kit at the Imagine Festival. It turned up in my laundry, unfortunately, not until after I had washed it, so that was interesting. On the day when Mercury stationed retrograde, which was September 17th, I decided to back up a bunch of files and noticed that many of the 13th flower files I had saved were no longer present on my backup hard drive. But this was my greatest guide, Mercury, saying, that's been done. There's much to create. Move forward. I recorded a podcast episode with live music by Allison and Carlos Toles and Mark Fendel. And it was beautiful, but the computer decided to stop recording part of the way through. But the blessing in that for me was that I got to play with Carlos and Allison, and it had been some time, especially with me playing my saxophone, so that was a gift. In that podcast episode, though it took a lot more time than those of recent recordings have, was one of my favorite yet. It's called Medusa, Perseus, and Pegasus, Blood Moon, and it's on the StarryTelling podcast, which you can find at the homepage of my website, morethan.astrology.com. So please have a listen if you'd like. And if you like it, please give it the heart or leave a comment. Again, that really helps. It really encourages me to continue sharing. Our chipmunk friend has returned, and maybe he'll sing to us again. All right, Mercury retrograde, we can speak much more about that, I think, another time. But today, Wednesday, Miércoles, this is Mercury's day. And it's September 30th, 2015, as I record this in the woods near Bear Springs, Oregon. And Mercury today is Cazimi, conjunct the Sun, just between the Sun and the Earth in his orbit, in the middle of his retrograde period. And many begin the next 4-month Mercury synodic cycle now, as many begin the Venus cycle when she's Cazimi, or interior conjunct to the Sun, which was August 15th, 2015. So what a blessing to speak about Virgo with Mercury Cazimi. Though he's in the sign of Libra, he is conjunct the Sun, Cazimi, in the heart of it, in the throne room of the king, at the shoulder of the priestess constellation, at a star called Parima, a great star of prophecy. So may the messenger speak to us from that oracle today and evermore. So October 8th is the next Moon-Venus conjunction, and therefore the next gate of Inanna's descents. The next day, October 9th, Mercury will station direct at the very first degree of Libra. The following day, October 10th, Venus will make a perfect square to Saturn, who ingressed Sagittarius on the same day Mercury stationed retrograde, which is September 17th. This square to Saturn can bring about some tension, absolutely. Saturn and Sagittarius asking us to rewrite the rules of belief that would keep us from seeking spirit. And one sentence that. Now Saturn traditionally is the ruler of Capricorn, where Venus had her last 19-month synodic cycle beginning in January of 2014. So she is now transitioned to Leo. But there's something about her conversation with Saturn at this time that's helping her, I believe, in this Leo descent to remember that root, that wisdom, that strength of her Capricorn journey that began again in January of 2014. And this is a third quarter square. All right, so like the moon, you can have the first quarter or the third quarter. And in the third quarter, in the moon game I play, this is the time of wisdom. So may it be so as Venus aligns in sometimes a kind of tense conversation in these square aspects to Saturn, the ringed one, who can be tense anyway. But this tension is different than the first quarter tension. The first quarter tension is like the seeds of intention sprouting, so exposed to the winds, to the rains. Where to me, the third quarter, which is after the opposition, or like the full moon, illumination, now this is a tension of wisdom. How can wisdom be tense? Well, sometimes when we learn, we also have to keep that feather in our cap, but drop that fruit that has grown on that tree of wisdom back to the earth. Eat a bit and drop the seeds so new intentions can sprout. So maybe in this conversation with Saturn, though he's in the sign of Sagittarius, Saturn who carries so much of that Capricorn wisdom, maybe this conversation is about right now, what do I release further from my Capricorn study so I can fully embrace this Leo calling, says Venus. On October 12th, we will have our new moon in the sign of Libra. It's in the 20th degree, and a new moon game begins. October 16th, Venus will oppose Neptune, who is in the 8th degree of Pisces. So Venus will be in the 8th degree of Virgo on the exact opposite side. And that's an interesting conversation, especially when we're talking about perceptions in the third eye, in the place of dreams, yeah? Because Neptune is so much the planetary professor of those mysteries, but also of the fog, of confusion, of delusion, yeah? And attachment to our dreams is the mother of disappointment, we are told. But this does not mean we should stop dreaming. Venus on her Leo quest, this is so much about the dream that we can manifest through our creations. But how can we ground them into the earth, into form? Yeah, Pisces, where Neptune is, and Neptune's so much the planetary professor of the Pisces school. Belief, and the macrocosm of spirit. I am but a cell of the grand uni-being. And on the opposite side, the polarity point, Virgo, and of course they educate each other. Venus comes here now to say, yes, but let's ground those dreams into reality, into our practice, into our devotion, into our yoga. And God is in every cell of my body. Yeah. So we have the square to Saturn, and then that opposition to Neptune. And it's setting up, in a sense, one of the most charged charts of next year, which is June 4th, 5th, 6th, 2016, when Venus at that time will be deep in the underworld, having already descended through all of the gates in the midst of her death and rebirth process. The Gemini new moon is June 4th, 2016. You'll hear me talking about that a lot because Venus is right there with Neptune in Pisces, Saturn in Sagittarius, and Jupiter in Virgo, forming a very strong mutable grand cross with the nodes in Virgo, Pisces at that time. It's a very charged chart. So as Venus this month comes in to speak in this square to Saturn, in this opposition to Neptune, and eventually a conjunction to Jupiter, she's kind of checking in with all these planets that she, in the midst of her death and rebirth, June 6th being her exterior conjunction, the kind of meat hook moment of Anana's quest, these are the planetary players who will very much inform that portion of our journey. So she's kind of getting the news this month in many respects as she squares Saturn and opposes Neptune and eventually conjuncts Jupiter. But before she does, Mars will conjunct Jupiter. This happens on October 17th. Venus, Mars, Jupiter are having a serious planet party in the morning sky in the sign of Virgo right now. So the moon joins on October 8th for this Venus gate, but it's well worth your time to wake up early in the morning and see Jupiter and Mars and Venus all there smiling back at you. Please do. October 19th, Moon conjuncts Pluto in the 13th degree of Capricorn. And the next day, on October 20th, we have our first quarter moon, the 20th degree of Capricorn. So those Libra seeds that were planted with the Libra new moon on October 12th will then be sprouting. October 23rd, Venus reaches the 13th degree of Virgo and makes trine to Pluto. Actually, I believe it's the 14th degree. And the 14th degree of Capricorn, where Pluto will be at that time, is my absolute favorite of the Sabian symbols. It reads something like a bas-relief carved in granite remains witness to a long-forgotten culture. This is so much of what Pluto is doing in his long dance through the sign of Capricorn, right? Retrieving the wisdom of the earth, of the ancient ones, of our DNA, the cells, you know, releasing us from some of the system and the empire and the technology that would distract us from who we are as human beings, which doesn't mean we should not use technology, you know, but that we should do so wisely and remember that we are creators of this child technology in this world. You know, Virgo can sometimes be very meticulous and detail oriented, and it can get into that computer programmer side of the thing, which is beautiful, but the true Virgo is here in the magic of the woods. So if we're going to stare at screens for many, many hours a day, let's also make sure we stare at trees. October 25th. What a morning. I turned 40 the night before on October 24th, and so that is my Venus synodic return, my 5th, because they happen every 8 years, as I've been presenting in these 13th flower episodes. So October 25th, Venus finds her third exact conjunction with Jupiter this year. This will take place also in the sign of Virgo in the 16th degree. Venus and Jupiter, 3 conjunctions this year. They were June 30th or July 1st, depending on where you live, August 4th or 5th, and then October 25th. There's been a lot of this kind of solve et coagula, this break apart, put back together, of how it is that we in our body, Venus, the circle of spirit, over the cross of matter, how we bring spirit down, and Jupiter has so much to say about that. As I've expressed before, Jupiter for me is the planetary correlate to the crown chakra, that higher gnosis that comes from our connection to the divine. And I should have said this, I guess, when I began, but I will say it now. For me, the moon represents the third eye or sixth chakra. The moon, that changing light as our third eye opens and closes, as we respond to day and night, and brings the dreams. And so we really honor the moon also this month during Venus's descent through that sixth chakra gate. So this third Venus-Jupiter conjunction on October 25th will be bringing back together our connection to spirit, which in so many ways is meant to have been stretched, maybe even pulled apart for us since their first conjunction on June 30th. That was like, let's check in, where are we with spirit? Maybe August 4th, August 5th. That one, which could not be seen, it was under the beams, it was Square Saturn, there was some tension. I don't even know who I am anymore. I thought we had this thing going on, spirit, where are you? And now it comes back together. And you see how this dances with the Venus journey. Yeah, we've done our crown chakra clearing. It's like, oh no, this was actually the way I used to connect to spirit. Let me clear that out and boom, reconnect, re-enlivened, stronger, more gnosis. And so may that be the truth for all of us. May there be a new youth as we connect to spirit in a brand new way. And may this October 25th, third Venus-Jupiter conjunction of this year, which are pretty rare, really help solidify that strong connection of us with spirit on high, as above, and so below. grounded into the earth. Venus, again, the circle of spirit over the cross of matter. How can we breathe that in and ground it into our body? The full moon happens on October 25th in the 5th degree of Taurus. So the sun will have ingressed Scorpio by that point. And this is the time of the illumination to the Libra seeds that were planted at the new moon on October 12th. Yeah, planted in Libra, traditionally ruled by Venus, okay? And now being illuminated from a full moon reflecting Scorpio in the sign of Taurus, traditionally ruled by Venus. So see how the moon during this month of the third eye gate, the moon being my third eye planetary correlate, is really reflecting from its beginning to its illumination this quest of the great goddess Anana, Venus. Yeah, and that full moon in Taurus reflecting Scorpio, well, there's Tantra here, right? So as we are connecting to our priestess nature and the Virgo nature, Virgo the leaf, right? Because it's always reaching for the light of spirit, and it does the inner work that feeds the tree, the photosynthesis. But what about Taurus, the fruit and the flower? It wants to be tasted, it wants to be smelled. It's pollinated, which is just as necessary for the continuation of the tree species that I would say we are in many ways, yeah? And Scorpio is happy to do the tasting and happy to do the smelling. So let's remember that Virgo is not chastity. That is a perversion of that truth, okay? It is simply unmarried. Right? The priestesses, the virgin goddesses were actually rather sensuous, some even extremely promiscuous. This had nothing to do with chastity. It just meant one who was strong onto themselves and chose not to marry. So that independence, yeah. Virgo in so many ways has been de-virginized by this idea that virgin equals chastity. It does not. And perhaps even more importantly, this way the priestesses were converted out of what they once were, which was literally tantrika, dakini, into these chaste nuns, you know what I mean? No. The idea that we have to address our prayers through some papal post office. No. Virgo is the independent, better said, undependent connection to spirit in the way that you do it. So perhaps some of the perceptions we are asked to clear is the idea that we need to connect through some pope or rabbi or guru or what have you. How do you connect? How do you root into the earth? Yeah, and then bring in spirit, the circle of spirit over the cross of matter. And I think this full moon, which will bring us opportunities to illuminate our own tantric and sexual nature, will help us work on some of that division between what we were told virginity means and bring back the truth of what it is to be like a virgin. Maybe we should play some Madonna songs and dance around that day. And maybe we shouldn't do it alone. The Taurus full moon, October 27th. On that same day, the moon, later in that day, will, from the 5th degree of Taurus, where the full moon occurred, get to 13-14 Taurus, and from there make a very strong and beautiful grand Earth trine to Pluto in Capricorn and to Mars and Jupiter in Virgo. And Venus is definitely there in the mix. There is a serious Virgo council of Venus, Mars, Jupiter, all month long. So I love how the moon from Taurus, that fruit in the flower, will connect the leaf of Virgo and this threefold council happening there, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, to Pluto, reassemblage in Capricorn, the trunk, the roots, the structure. How can we reassemble our structure? By honoring that pollination of the fruit in the flower while staying true to our bhakti, our devotion. Yeah, that leaf that reaches for the light and does the inner work. On that same day, October 27th, what a magical day. Venus, from the 18th degree of Virgo, will reach opposition to Chiron. Okay? the sacred wound and the greatest mentor, and a great carrier of medicine, earth medicine. So again, the Pisces-Virgo opposition, that conversation happening, starting with the Virgo opposition to Neptune earlier in the month on October 16th, and now here on October 27th with all of these strong alignments. Venus speaking with Chiron, yeah, from across the table, this opposition, this Pisces-Virgo, you know, belief versus practice, and this earth medicine that helps us bring that higher spirit into the quest, and that nature, I think, of the as above and so below, and really bringing us into our own practice. What is your medicine? What is your prayer? And may that always be safe and protected as we honor chipmunk and wolf and bear springs and Stellar's jay and bees, you know, and trees, these great teachers, these great guides, these great friends of the forest. November 2nd, a day I've been speaking about for a long time. This is the third Venus-Mars conjunction of 2015. The first was February 20th or 21st, depending on where you live, in the sign of Aries, the very first degrees of Aries. New beginnings in this relationship between Yin, Venus, and Yang, Mars. Okay, then they were pulled apart, gone through these initiations. The second conjunction at the 15th degree of Leo on, I can't believe I'm forgetting this date right now. And that's okay. Maybe I'll fill that in when I show the charts and the videos. Well, it was August 31st. Right, but though they were together again, conjunct in the morning sky, they were still far apart. You've probably heard me speak about this many times, you see. So they were right together, the first degrees of Aries in February, pulled apart, gone through their initiations, and though they came back together August 31st, by latitude they were far apart in the sky, yeah? And Venus has risen above Mars, and now she's come back for this third conjunction on November 2nd, like this. So close, yeah? They started off, hey, how can we do this better? Where are we now? Okay, let's release, let's purify, let's come back together. They go through their initiation, she comes back. How was it for you? Hard, but I released all this stuff and I'm ready now. And she says the same, perhaps, but let's take our time with it. Yeah. So since August 31st and this third conjunction coming on November 2nd, it's that patience. It's that willingness not to rush in, take things slowly, really trust our heart, our intuition, our discernment, our discrimination. And now the yin and the yang come back together, this third Venus-Mars conjunction of this year of 2015 on November 2nd in the 24th degree of Virgo. Okay, so the third Venus-Jupiter conjunction, Virgo. The third Venus-Mars conjunction, Virgo. The Venus-Mars-Jupiter planet party, Virgo. Right? Mercury, not in Virgo, but getting pretty close where he stations direct in the very first degree of Libra, but Mercury, this essence of Virgo, and we begin this quest with Mercury so close to the Sun in his retrograde pass of the Earth. November 3rd brings the third quarter moon to us in the 11th degree of Leo, squaring third quarter square to the Scorpio Sun. And that again for me in my moon game, the one that I play and experience, that is wisdom. So those October 12th, Libra new moon, Libra seeds of intention, yeah, communication, partnership, peace, so much that we were asked to experience and release and reconnect to during the strong blood moon eclipse on Oh, September 27th, just a few days ago. How was that for you, right? Can we plant new seeds on October 12th? Can we see them tense with first quarter moon week, illuminated by the full moon week? And now we come into the wisdom of that. May we be in a place of peace, of partnership, of open, trusting communication. Yeah. And I am experiencing peace. I am at peace. I am peace. My favorite Libra prayer, which really always comes true when I sit in the magic of these northwest woods, even when I'm listening to plane sounds and whatnot, the chipmunks and the birds counteract all that noise of technology. So that's it for what I'll share now. I might add a couple things later when I look at the charts at home. The third Venus moon gate, where we will release the third eye, the bindi or the lapis earrings, as it may be. There's a necklace correlate, or the hair of Inanna. There's been many expressions of how this relates to the Sumerian story of Inanna's descent. But the third gate, where we release the third eye, and now move into investigating the throat chakra, fifth chakra, that comes our way on November 7th, 2015, as the crescent moon will embrace Venus in the morning sky in the 30th degree of Virgo. And the next day, Venus will ingress Libra, returning to one of her native signs. So this entire gate features the great goddess Venus, Inanna, traveling through the sign of Virgo, devotion, practice, and your independent, undependent, direct connect to spirit. May we release any perceptions that would keep us from knowing always that this is available to us, to you in the way that you do it, you and you and you and you and you and me, the way that I do it, and only that. Nothing that can be taught in some big book, be it Bible, Quran, or 12 Easy Steps to Meditation, though those all can be beautiful signposts along the way. This is our true connection, and in that connection, through our devotion, through our practice, we find our truth. Thank you for sitting with me in the woods. This is your friendly astronaut Gemini Brett signing off. I will see you on Earth. Love and planet.